burn division, you heard about. But Norm asked me to talk about this. I don't know how many service sheets there are in here, but this parallel just will show some of the powers that we have once an API is created, pull data into FBS or whatever system's there. This is just a screenshot of the preferences page in FBS. It's showing that you just set up the URL, set up our username, and here's the top secret password. Oh. So once that's done, we go on forward there. And I missed the screen here. But anyway, you go to import data, import service data, and this will bring up and go search. You go searches the API. That API searches the database and it'll pull in data. You see each of the tabs at the top for bin, field, center, equipment. Each one of these with a red dot on them. There's some mapping that needs doing there. So this JD 1775, that is a pointer that hasn't been mapped yet, as there are each of the other sprayers and pointers. And once they're mapped into the equipment in FBS. This is the one-time deal. So once you've done it, next time FBS sees this data, it knows what it is. You don't have to go redo that. Same is true. I didn't do every tab here, but fertilizer is the same way. So to get a new fertilizer, you have to map it. The old ones is still with it.
Bernard, does it work both ways? If it's in FBS but not in Conservis,
we're not there yet. That is a goal, so that we can bilaterally exchange data. So these are just an example of 3 spraying records that it pulled in. These so happens these are records that first record was replaced. I had a record that gets edited in Conservis. It'll bring in those edits. So after you've done them, it replaces the old record with data. The second one here was created. Tells you spraying record, date it happened, center what crop it was for this BC soybeans for us, that double crop soybeans. Tells you how many acres were covered, description of the equipment, and then this tabs on over, but each of the chemicals that were applied there all wrong, which brings you to our crop history report. This is a summary page, but here would be an example of how each of those records came in to FBS showing. Now there's a little bit of extra stuff in there, but spraying record, Gary Lane sprayed that 109 acres here. 109 acres. Cody sprayed it. And then if we go to the chemical tab, we'll see each chemical. Works pretty smoothly. Few quirks here and there. Every now and then it'll miss the record. You go back to the past one 3 days ago that it missed. But anytime it comes, the beauty is we do some comparisons to make sure the acres and the volumes line up from one system to the other to make sure all of it. Just a double check on it. That's it. Very brief. Questions, comments?
How much do you have to do on the Conservis side to get this set up? Are you putting like tank mix? I mean, you talk about the chemicals. Is that based on the tank mix that you put into Conservis?
Yes. You can do a tank mix in Conservis, or you can do individual chemicals. Most all of our spraying operations and planting operations use field to field fairly the same. Conservis gives you the option to add or delete a chemical. So the operator, this data, it allowed us to get our sprayer operators to do that data right on the spot. And as far as quality of data, it went up probably 5 to 3%. editing the errors. Once we started collecting the departments.
So you're actually, your operators are entering the tank mix into Conservis.
Correct.
In the field,
In the
or
field.
they've got an app essentially.
Got the app on the phone.
And they're, so, and if they may have, you may have you pre-populated some tank mixes, but then in the fly, when they change them, that's when they make the entry.
They make the entry regardless, they affirm the tank mix, or they may have to edit the tank mix.
Is there actually something talking to the sprayer, or is this just all the information put in takers and down?
We're using the pump. Service has the ability to John Deere's offset, pull that straight off. We tried that and there were more errors doing that than they were letting the operator do it, so we went, we said, fine. We like to do it. That's kind of what.
Is that mainly with tank mixes or planting and fertilizer application as well, or?
It's not necessarily tank mixes, I think it's more a mentality. John Deere and the monitor, if you don't enter all that data before you start spraying, it sends you the data it had in it. And so if you get halfway through the field and change something, John Deere won't let you change anything that you've done. It will only change what you're going to do. And I think that's the part. So we're better off reporting what happened rather than reporting what's done. That's one way.
So you're saying that the operator is entering it right in their phone through Conservis, you're not going to John Deere at all?
That is correct. Now, there is some proofing done and the record looks screwy. You may go back to John Deere and pull that data off of John Deere and say, hey. Worst case scenario, you call the operator and say, hey, please don't agree. What happened?
What's the next 2 or 3 things you do to improve the interface?
And get them talking both ways. The yield data is, we're not pulling yield data in yet. And I think that would be helpful.
That would be from the grain cart. I mean, you're going across the truck scale.
Going across the truck scale, but all that data is in Conservis also.
Yeah.
That's how we keep field data.
You haven't tried that yet.
How are you getting the service
We're using harvest apple.
and typing it in from the scale?
We're farming, we got like 400 sensors. Polygons aren't real big. And it's not uncommon to be harvesting 3 or 4 fields in the same day. So Conservis helps keep that elevator patched up, do the actual field, so our actual. We're trying to keep really nice field history on each deal, so when we move forward, when we say, we've not used the detailed budgets in Conservis. Most of those are huge.
So does this go into the cache layer or?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so all of this is going in and it's basically relieving inventory. Okay, so all these chemicals are in inventory, this relieves that inventory, so it moves it to what in effect.
We just heard from the head honcho at Conservis on kind of his vision of the world as a user. Where do you see their vision and kind of the FBS vision coming together, going apart? What's the?
I think long term, and probably not all that far in the future, it will have APIs that allow all these different modules to talk to each other. I think we'll get a better job with John Deere. I think Big Champ's the only big program I'm very familiar with. It's got gone. I think all these ideas will start talking to each other so that we have one massive data and full pieces of it. We need accounting information. How many gallons of Roundup we use to control that? I think that's where we're going.
Then you just need another system to make sure it all reconciles and makes sense.
That's correct. Reconciling. Part of my headaches. Inventories that don't balance. We wind up doing most of those in FBS. There is some disconnect, that's right. But those spray records, if we have an audit for some reason, you don't want to go to a global correction on accuracy, makes you spray 2.3 times. You don't ever want that. So that's one of the reasons against it. And when you do a global adjust is available in Conservis, but it's doing something screwy to import data over in some reason.
So how do you reconcile that at the end of the year? How are you reconciling that at the end of the year? Your what you actually used and what Conservis says are two things. Right?
No,
Oh,
you do well. Okay, yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm catching up. So that inventory, there will be an inventory adjustment in Conservis.
okay.
We're in FBS, that global adjustment actually puts the dollars where they belong. In Conservis.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a question for you or on, but did you guys import data from iFarm or from FieldView?
No, I don't know about iFarm. I'm familiar with that. FieldView that's a proprietary.
Field views.
Are you doing that, Brian? Or are you just doing John Deere Ops Center?
Field view, not opposite.
Yeah. I mean, that's a closed system.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll use climate.
Yeah, it's closed and it's got I mean, Conservis has done a API with them apparently.
Are you iFarm, is that the grain cart? Yeah. So you've got which agromatics, lever cart, I think is the pulse. Yeah. It's the grain cart.
So can you get a CSV out of that?
You know,
Yes.
I think you can.
Yeah, you get a cloud back, you get it into cloud and then you can export it.
Right. Yeah.
Are you using the scales with carts?
Yeah. We weigh everything anyway.
We got
Well,
the truck scales at the, oh,
anytime we split load, whatever we're using skill. You operate 15. On full truckload, we just call everything full up. It gets adjusted to the true load.
We go to on-farm storage at different locations for different dryers. And so the iPad and the auto part that, this on Bluetooth to scale on the cart.
Yeah.
And so we can say which truck hauled it, where it went to, what field it's from. And so that's for all parts. But then again, every load has to be.
We don't have scales on every car, so all of a sudden you create a whole.
Yeah.
We just decided not to.
Once you have your credentials set up at a certain time,
It's still a manual trigger. You don't have to go in and manually pull it. So we've got an inventory manager. He does that. He gets lazy.
Yeah, it keeps track of that's been passed through or not, so you can't double it up or thing like that, but it keeps a queue of what you haven't.
Keep the queue, right, there's a queue and then that data record is flagged somehow in service. Or we save it. And it's amazing, you can enter editing data, you go to service, edit a record, and go re-pull the data.
is it a fair assumption that the guys who are spraying know what they're spraying? They know what's in the tank.
They know what's in the tank, they may not know what.
Well, somebody is entering, right?
Yes.
But not necessarily the guy driving the sprayer.
The guy driving the sprayer, what I'm saying is he may not know what.
Why you're finding.
Why you're.
Well, what I'm really getting at is some operations, there's a person, they mix hot loads in
Yeah.
a fixed location. The spray operator he just drives the spray. And,
This is not the
and,
case.
and so whoever's mixing that load would have to be making the entry in the service, right?
Right.
Yeah, but
We're not going to,
you're,
but I know I'm fully aware of that. That's common. We've entertained that idea. We've never thought about contamination. We,
So do they take the work orders 70% of the time, or 90% of the time? And you generate the next.
I wish I could answer that. and tell them I'm not close enough to that operation. I'm gonna say 70% of the time, they're going straight off. But there's a meeting, we have an operations meeting every morning. Those guys, pretty much the leaders of the spray team, he knows where those guys are going. There's probably a verbal test along with this that goes to them. May vary slightly from one order.
Okay, well, thank you, Bernard.